Please note, in order to comply with YouTube policy, this free version of the audiobook has bedroom scenes redacted. If you would like to read the full text, please get the ebook or print version of the story.
Chapter 1. Vella. She wouldn't want me to be depressed. I have grieved for months over the death of my very best friend in the entire world. If Maddie were here right now, she would tell me in no uncertain terms to get out there and live my life to the fullest. So, that's what I'm going to do. I'm done moping. To honor vivacious, fun-loving Maddie, I'm going to start saying yes to life. There won't be any more hiding in the shadows for me. I was always the quiet, awkward one, while Maddie was outgoing and charismatic. For some reason, she selected me to be her best friend in kindergarten, and I have been basking in her magnetic, glowing orbit ever since. I still can't quite wrap my mind around the fact that she's gone. A freak accident on one of her beloved horses took her from us in an instant, during the prime of her life. I'd give anything to have her back, but that isn't an option. Instead, I'm going to force myself to be more like she was, by embracing my life and appreciating all that it has to offer. It feels so good to call my demanding boss at the software company, where I've toiled away during the past 4 years, and quit my job. I worked impossibly long hours, and gave them my all, despite their lack of appreciation for my sacrifices. My boss, who used to sweet-talk me into regularly working weekends and holidays, quickly turns on me after I give her the news. She starts out trying to convince me to stick it out, but once she realizes that I am determined to leave, she snaps that I should immediately return my company laptop, credit card, building access key, and cell phone. Rather than thanking me for all of my hard work or offering to give me a professional reference, she says,
"I'll have someone to replace you by next week."
"Oh," I say, startled by her abrupt rudeness, but she has already hung up on me. I tap the button on my phone to hang up, and blink at my apartment's stark white wall. I've been working so many long hours since moving in here, that I didn't even take the time to hang any pictures or do a minimal amount of decorating to make this a home. Instead, it's a blank, empty shell. This apartment is utterly dull and boring, just like me. Well, not anymore, I announce to the empty room with more gumption than I've felt in years. Deciding to act while the urge is strong, I go to my closet and begin packing my clothes. Luckily, I haven't accumulated many belongings, so I'm able to fit everything that matters to me inside my compact car. After a quick call to my landlord to let him know that I've moved out, I start my car and stare out the windshield. My hand hovers over the gear shifter as the car idles. I have plenty of money saved since I have been all work and no play for the past several years, despite Maddie's adamant requests to the contrary. It suddenly hits me that I am completely free. I'm not tied down by a job or family commitments. I'll simply call my parents to let them know where I end up, so they don't worry. I can go anywhere, do anything, and be anyone I want. Unfortunately, I am at a loss for ideas on all of those fronts. I've never allowed myself to imagine a world where I can do whatever I choose. It's both liberating and terrifying at once. After taking a deep breath, I tap out a quick text. "Where should I go, Maddie? I want to take life by the horns and enjoy living." Unfortunately, she doesn't respond. I should be used to her silence by now, since I've texted her cell phone with every bit of news or random observation that I've wanted to share with her since her accident. I hope her husband continues to pay her cell phone bill forever, because it's the only way I feel any continued connection with her, even though it's a completely one-sided conversation. The realization that some stranger may someday have her number is incomprehensible. The thought enters my mind that I could go to the ranch Maddie loved so much in Colorado, but I dismiss the idea almost as quickly as it emerges. That is the place where Maddie died, and I'm not ready to face that yet. I may not ever be ready for that. Besides, horses were her thing. I need to find my own passion. After a quick stop at my office to dump my company-owned items at the reception desk, I return to my car and wait for inspiration to strike. I lean back on the car's headrest and stare at the clear blue sky. It's full of white, puffy clouds. Although I try to see a significant shape in them, nothing appears. I'm so desperate for any kind of sign from Maddie that it makes my stomach ache, but she refuses to give me one. It's almost like she's truly gone, but my mind and heart can't accept that. Suddenly, a tiny hummingbird appears at the corner of my windshield. Its wings flap so fast they blur. I blink rapidly, almost unable to believe my eyes. Maddie always loved hummingbirds and kept a feeder full on her front porch at the ranch. She claimed the quick-moving, brightly colored birds bring good luck, so I gave her a crystal hummingbird ornament for Christmas last year. The bird hovers in front of my car as if it is looking right at me. I've never seen or experienced anything like it. The surreal feeling is overwhelming. Maddie? I say aloud to the empty car. Just then, an upbeat song begins playing on the oldies station of my car's radio. The bird zooms away as I realize the tune is California Girls by the Beach Boys. I've always wanted to see the ocean, and California seems like a magical place where all of my dreams could come true. Smiling wide with my decision made, I put my car in gear, head west, and say, "Message received, Maddie. California, here I come."
Chapter 2. Brody. During our weekly phone call, my mother can't wait to tell me the gossip about my lifelong friend, Lane, and his recent heroics during an emergency roadside birth.
Rumor has it that he is falling madly in love with the woman and her baby.
Mom informs me in a wistful tone that lets me know she wishes I would do the same. I don't have the heart to tell her that I like my life exactly as it is. I have made an absolute fortune over the past few years with cryptocurrency micro-trades. The money allows me the freedom to live by the beach and surf whenever I feel like it. If I get lonely, it's never an issue to find a beautiful sun-kissed lady to keep my bed warm for the night. I'm living the life of my dreams, and I don't want to change a single thing about it. While I'm happy for Lane if domesticity is the life he wants, that tied-down lifestyle is not for me. I'm young, rich, and free. It can't possibly get any better than that. After I sign off the call with Mom, I decide to reach out to Lane. It's been too long since my high school football quarterback and I have caught up with each other. I start to shoot him a text, but decide that the major changes in his life deserve an actual phone call. Lane picks up my call, sounding thrilled to hear from me. Almost immediately, he teases me about being a beach bum. It's as if no time has passed since we last spoke to each other, even though it's actually been quite a long while. I give him a hard time for leaving me alone in the bachelor's club, but grin at how truly happy he sounds. Lane jokingly asks me if I've made my first $1 trillion yet. He's obviously kidding, but it's not that far-fetched. I have way more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, so I need to start actively looking for ways to use it for the good of mankind. The last thing I want is to be a tightwad Scrooge sitting on a pile of money, obsessively counting it until the end of my days. But the next wave is always out there, and it's hard to resist its siren's call, especially for a boring business meeting. Perhaps I should look into hiring someone capable of taking care of the logistics of establishing my charitable foundation, so the work doesn't cut into my surfing time. Speaking of surfing, I look longingly out the giant picture window in my living room. A shark sighting just off the coast this morning, and hazardous water conditions are keeping me from being able to do what I love most. The posted double red and purple flags flying at the lifeguard station just down from my house mean the authorities have determined that it's too dangerous to be in the water, even though the waves look perfect as they curl over themselves and beckon me toward them. If it were up to me, I would take my chances, but the last thing I need is to be arrested for ignoring the color-coded warnings. Besides, I am a strong swimmer, but I've seen firsthand the devastation the ocean can cause to overly confident surfers. The sound of Lane's sizzling food comes through the phone speaker as he cooks dinner. My gaze is drawn to a lovely lady walking out toward the beach. I'm enjoying admiring the view of her curvy backside as she pulls her dress up and over her head, until she starts walking into the water. What the heck is she doing? I mutter, almost unable to believe my eyes. Who? Lane asks me, obviously confused. Frustrated that I have to end our call early, I answer, "There's some crazy woman ignoring all of the posted warning flags and walking right out into the surf. There are some strong riptides out there today. I better go help her." My friend says, "Sure thing. Go save her day. Let's talk again soon, Brody." "You bet," I respond distractedly, before hanging up and heading for the door. I call out to the curvaceous, obviously insane lady, but either the wind carries my voice away or she ignores me. After jogging to the edge of the shore, I yell in her direction again, "Hey, She turns around and the beautiful sight nearly bowls me over. She's wearing only skimpy black bikini underwear and a matching lacy bra. She fills them both out perfectly.
"Oh, hi,"
she says with a wide, happy smile, as if we are old friends. Unable to stop staring at her redacted, I try but fail to sound perturbed when I ask, "What do you think you're doing?"
"I'm playing in the Pacific Ocean,"
she squeals as she uses her hands to splash some salty water into the air. Her eyes are alight with joy. It makes me wonder if she's truly that enamored by the sea, or if she's high on something. As much as I'd love to frolic with her, I know it isn't safe. Pointing at the lifeguard stand, I ask, "Didn't you see the warning flags? You can't be in the water today."
"Oh, I didn't know what the colors meant,"
she answers me with wide eyes as if she fears she may be in deep trouble. "Look, I'm not the ocean police. I just don't want you to get hurt in front of my place," I tell her. Her gaze takes on an ornery glint as she asks,
"So you don't care if I get hurt as long as it's not in front of your house?"
"I care," I assure her, surprised to find that I truly do. Deciding that sounds too sappy, I add in a teasing tone, "Blaring sirens and flashing lights anywhere on the beach ruin the ambiance." She rolls her eyes at my explanation, before saying,
"Oh, heaven forbid, your perfect ambiance gets ruined."
"Exactly," I answer, even though it is painfully obvious that she is being sarcastic. I'm enjoying our snarky banter, but know it's only a matter of time before a big wave comes, knocks her off her feet, and drags her further out. Needing to get her to safety, I suggest, "Why don't you come up to my place? We'll get you dried off and warmed up." The concerned expression draws her features down, and I realize too late that my sincere offer sounds like a cheesy "come on." She's shaking her head back and forth and staring down as she answers,
"No, I better not."
After mulling over her answer for a long moment, she suddenly looks up, stares deeply into my eyes and half shouts,
"Yes."
I startle at the overly loud word, but then immediately become curious about the complete about-face in her answer. Tempering her tone, the woman levels a steady gaze at me and says,
"My name is Vella Clark. What is yours?"
"Vella," I repeat her name, allowing it to slowly roll off my tongue. I like the unique, tantalizing sound of it, and it seems to perfectly fit the one-of-a-kind woman.
"Your name is Vella too? What a coincidence."
She gives me an amused look and arches a perfectly shaped brow in my direction. I chuckle before answering, "My name is Brody Jenkins. It's lovely to meet you, Vella. Now get the heck out of that dangerous churning water before you drown."
Chapter 3. You wouldn't send me to a madman's house, would you, Maddie? The question emerges in my mind as fear, mixed with excitement, swirls through my system. Ignoring my apprehension, I return to the shore, pick up my dress and sandals, then follow Brody toward his impressive beachfront estate. I'd been so startled by the man's demand that I get out of the water that I had immediately complied. Normally, I would at least balk at his pushy request, but something about his tone rang with sincerity. It felt like he was truly worried about my safety. When I glance over at the lifeguard station, I realized that Brody had made a valid point about the warning flags. It should have been obvious to me that 2 red flags and a purple one with a white shark on it are not good signs. I'd just been so ridiculously excited to be here that I hadn't taken the time to process the dangers. Visiting California has always been a bucket list dream for me. The early loss of Maddie's life has made it clear that any items on my wish list need to be done now. I will strive to embrace all that life has to offer, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. It's unclear if Brody is angry with me as he stalks toward his house, so I attempt to gauge his mood with small talk. "I've never been to the ocean before." He immediately stops walking and turns to stare at me as if I've just announced that I like to eat giant, crunchy bugs with juicy slugs for dessert. I gaze up into his eyes that perfectly match the blue-green ocean water behind us. He blinks several times, obviously astounded by my revelation. Eventually, he says in a faraway voice,
"I can't even imagine."
Shrugging my shoulders, I say, "I grew up in a landlocked state and haven't traveled very much."
"That's just crazy,"
he reiterates.
"My heart and soul need to be near the water."
Turning back to look at the powerful crashing waves, I answer honestly, "I can see why. Pictures don't do it justice." He continues gawking at me for long enough that it begins to turn awkward. I shuffle from foot to foot, wondering if my lack of travels is some sort of deal breaker for him. The odd urge to apologize for my sheltered life surfaces in my mind, but I shove it down. If Maddie were here, she would tell me to lift my chin and silently dare him to challenge me, so that's exactly what I do. Evidently, the uncharacteristic, bold and stubborn gesture works because Brody emerges from his frozen trance and says,
"Right. We need to get you warm and dry."
I turn and hold my dress out to shake the sand off it. The whipping wind immediately blows the grains of sand back in my direction, where it sticks to my wet skin. Thankfully, no sand gets in my eyes, but I still feel like a ridiculous fool when I see the stunned look of disbelief Brody is giving me, as if I am the most clueless person in the world. Lifting my shoulders up toward my ears, I tell him, "I see what people mean when they say sand gets everywhere. Perhaps I could come inside and use your shower?"
"Oh, you're not coming in my house like that."
Brody answers with a scoff, as if the mere idea of it is preposterous. I don't relish the idea of getting in my car all wet and sandy to drive to a hotel, but I suppose it's my own fault for not planning ahead. Relief nearly overwhelms me when Brody leads me through the sturdy wooden stilts beneath his house to a surprisingly elegant outdoor shower that is hidden by a maze of mosaic-tiled walls.
"You can clean up here. I'll get you a towel,"
he offers. "Oh wow, thank you," I say, mesmerized by the lush fanciness of it all. The water spray warms almost instantly and beats down on my sore muscles. The long hours of driving evidently took more of a toll on my body than I realized. I tip my head back and let the relaxed "ah" emerge from deep in my throat. Brody clears his throat from the entry of the hidden shower. He's gazing at me with undeniable desire shining in his bright aqua eyes. I wet my lips before allowing them to tip up into a smile. I'm not used to men looking at me that way, and it feels good, really, really good. We maintain eye contact for a long moment. Eventually, Brody regains his wits and says,
"Here's your towel."
With that, he hangs the large fluffy towel on a hook and hurries away. I take my time, luxuriating in the hot water as I rinse the travel-grimed sand and seawater down the drain. Brody has large bottles of expensive-looking, coconut-scented hair and body products, so I pump generous amounts of each into my palm and lather up. After I peek around to make sure Brody isn't looking, I remove my panties and bra. I fully rinse them both, then flip them over the top edge of the shower wall to let them hang dry. Wearing wet undies would only make large, unsightly wet spots on my dress. I'd rather go without than deal with that. Once the hot water completely warms me up from being in the chilly ocean, I turn the faucet off and emerge from the shower. Brody's towel is more luxurious than any I've ever used. It practically sucks the water from my skin. When I slip the dress over my head and it clings to my bare skin, I have a moment of doubt about going commando. It's a titillating yet foreign feeling to have nothing but the thin fabric of my dress covering me. It would only take one quick gust of wind to completely expose me. Deciding this simply isn't me, I reach out to grab my underwear and bra from the ledge where they are hanging to drip dry. An icy chill races down my spine, and I have the undeniable sense that I should remain bare and free under my clothes. Wondering if Maddie is truly reaching out to me from beyond, or if I'm going completely bonkers, I snatch my hand back from my skivvies as if they have burned me. After I hang the damp towel back on the hook and slip on my strappy sandals, I head out of the walled shower maze. Brody is waiting just outside. His already vivid eyes light up at the sight of me, making heat pool in my belly. When his gaze darts to my undergarments still hanging over the ledge, then back to me, his Adam's apple bobs as he swallows audibly. My first instinct is to lift my hands to cover myself, but I firmly remind myself that he can't see through my dress. He simply knows there is nothing but a thin layer of fabric covering me. When his gaze travels slowly down and back up my body, I redacted. Brody is speechless as he peruses me, and I feel like a desirable goddess for the first time in, well, ever. I silently thank Maddie for the unsubtle nudge to go bare under my dress. It's a completely out-of-character move, but it feels impossibly good. I'm jolted out of my rumination by a soft gray cat. It eyes me with bright green eyes for a long moment before tentatively approaching. Delighted, I say, "Oh, you have a cat. I love cats."
"Careful. He's a total jerk,"
Brody warns me. The cat saunters over and twirls between my legs, rubbing up against me. I tip down to scratch his ears, and he begins purring loudly. Brody sounds bewildered when he says,
Lucy usually hates everyone, including me, and I feed him.
Perhaps he dislikes you because you gave him such a feminine name, I suggest, already in love with the gorgeous animal.
It's short for Lucifer,
Brody reveals. Glaring up at the man's gleaming white smile as I rub the kitty, I say, it sounds almost like you were setting him up to fail by choosing that particular name.
He's lucky I didn't name him Demonic Redacted, because he sure acts like one sometimes.
Brody grouches. I pick up the cat and pooch my lips out as I say to the animal, why did this mean man adopt you if he doesn't like you? You deserve to be with someone who sees how lovable and adorable you are. Brody bugs his eyes out as if he can't believe Lucy is snuggling in my arms before grouching.
I didn't adopt him. He came to me and won't go away.
Well then he must see something worthwhile in you, I say. Ignoring that, Brody asks me,
Ready to come inside?
Sure, I say, already climbing the stairs that lead up to his back patio with sprawling views of the ocean.
Lucy isn't allowed inside,
Brody informs me firmly, as he holds the patio's screen door open for me to enter. As soon as I start to obediently set the cat down, another intuitive nudge strikes. Although I know it's Brody's home and he should get to set the rules, something makes me give him an ornery smile and say, oh, that doesn't seem right at all. With that, I carry Lucy inside the man's beautiful beachside estate.
Chapter 4. I can't believe Vella had the audacity to bring that blasted cat inside my house. And I just stood silently by and let her do it. What the heck is wrong with me? I need to send this irresistible woman away. Now? But something stops me. It's almost like I'm compelled to see this through. Out of all the waterfront properties in the world, Vella showing up on my little stretch of beach has to mean something. Right? I've never been a big believer in signs from above, destiny, or fate. But something feels right about Vella. It's almost like I was meant to meet her. Although it doesn't make a lick of sense, my gut feeling about her is too strong to ignore. Besides, even Lucy likes her, and that is saying something. That little jerk would prefer to scratch most people's eyes out, rather than have them look at him. The cat purrs as she carries him and explores my home. His evil green glare taunts me from his safe place in her arms. He knows he's getting away with something by being inside, and it's almost like he senses that I would rather be the object of her tender touch and affection. I stare at my tile floor and shake my head to clear it. I never thought I'd see the day when I am jealous of an animal. This impossibly desirable woman is wreaking havoc on my senses. It would be in my own best interest to send her away, pronto. But the urge to see and touch her redacted under that flimsy wisp of a dress easily trumps my sense of self-preservation. Once I give her a quick tour of my home, things become awkward. There's no reason for her to stay here, but I'm not ready for her to go. When she gives me an expectant look, I ask, Are you hungry?
I am always happy to eat.
We both chuckle at her answer. Vella is so different from most of the thin, overly made-up Barbie doll lookalikes who are a dime a dozen around here. I'll take you to my favorite restaurant, I offer. She nods her head as if she is ready to go now. Trying to gently remind her that she is fresh from the shower, I ask,
Would you like to get a bag from your car or use my hairdryer? Oh, right,
she says, reaching up with one hand to tuck a wet lock of hair behind her ear.
I must look like a mess. I'll go get my bag and be ready in 10 minutes.
It's so refreshing that she didn't give her looks a single thought before agreeing to go out with me to get dinner, and the fact that she estimates it will take her only 10 minutes to get ready is absolutely mind-blowing. Beyond charmed by the unique woman, I offer, make yourself at home in the guest bathroom. I'll go grab your travel bag. Where is your car? After describing her ancient vehicle and the gym bag she needs from the back seat, she indicates the car's location in a nearby public parking lot. I ask, is it locked?
Oh, no. I don't have anything worth stealing.
She answers with a light-hearted laugh. I'd better take Lucy outside since there isn't a litter box in here, I explain as I gently extricate the cat from her arms. She nods and allows me to take him, but says,
Perhaps you should get one.
I refuse to allow one of those nasty-smelling things in my home, but decide not to argue with her. Instead, I walk outside, tentatively holding Lucy. I'd been half expecting the animal to flip out and scratch me, so I'm pleased when he only puts up a minor fuss over me taking him back outdoors where he belongs. As I walk to her car, I ponder the magnificent woman who seems to have dropped as a gift from the sky right into my backyard. She truly doesn't seem to care what anyone else thinks, which makes her the exact opposite of the vain ladies I have traditionally dated. The juxtaposition is intriguing, and it makes me yearn to get to know the unique woman better, much better. Her car looks like it has seen better days, and I'm surprised to find that it's full of boxes and bags. The vehicle almost looks like she's living in it. The thought enters my mind that she may have intentionally sought me out because she's looking for a wealthy love interest to take care of her, but I quickly shove that idea back down. Vella seems completely sincere, and I'm too smart to be taken advantage of. Besides, I'm still too young to be a sugar daddy. After grabbing the purple gym bag that she requested, there is a definite pep to my step as I head back toward my home. Vella is like a breath of fresh air, and I am going to enjoy getting to know her as much as a surfer being tossed around under the sea savors that first gasp of oxygen after finally surfacing. I set her bag in front of the closed bathroom door and let her know it's there. Sure enough, 8 minutes after the time she made the claim, Vella emerges from the guest bathroom looking fresh-faced and ready for dinner. Her now dry hair cascades around her lovely face in long natural waves. The thick line of eyelashes framing her eyes are now darker and her lips are shiny, making it obvious that she does indeed wear some makeup. But it is subtle and only serves to accentuate her natural beauty. She's still wearing the pretty wispy floral dress. Her wet undies and bra were still hanging up outside when I brought in her bag. I'm desperate to know if she had fresh ones in her bag, or if she is still bare beneath the light, flowy fabric. The mere idea of it is absolutely mesmerizing. Redacted. Knowing this isn't the time or place for redacted, I do my best to ignore my curiosity about what Vella may or may not be wearing under her dress. Wanting to get moving before I act on the urge to kiss her senseless, I smile and ask, "Ready to head out?"
Sure.
She answers before asking,
Do you mind driving? You probably noticed that my car is kind of full.
"Not at all," I assure her, beyond impressed that she didn't automatically assume I would drive. After we walk out to the garage, I grab the keys for the Maybach, since it is my least showy vehicle. Intuition tells me that Vella won't be impressed by the speed or sleekness of my fleet of flashy sports cars.
Very nice.
She gives me a half smile as she settles into the luxurious leather of the passenger's seat in the rare, expensive car. The underwhelming compliment has me grinning wide as I back out of the garage. I'm quickly discovering that Vella is remarkably different in the most wonderful ways from anyone I've ever known. We pass several trendy seaside cafes and bistros with multi-million-dollar views, but I know in my heart that Vella would not be impressed by any of them. Instead, I turn on a back road and park beside a narrow alley near my favorite hidden hole-in-the-wall restaurant. This place has been a home away from home for me since moving to California, but I've never even considered bringing anyone else here. It's too private and special to share with just anyone. After we emerge from the car, Vella blinks rapidly at the tiny, ramshackle-looking building. Feigning confidence and hoping I haven't completely misread the situation, I offer her my elbow as I ask, "Shall we?"
Chapter 5. The small, run-down restaurant is one of the last establishments I would expect obviously wealthy Brody to patronize. This looks like the sort of place where one is served giant heaps of delicious food for a small price. It's the kind of restaurant where I would choose to eat. I stare at the chipped red exterior bricks, stunned that this is where he has brought me. We passed every manner of fancy beachfront restaurant on the way here. While I am much more comfortable in this relaxed and friendly type of environment than a fancier restaurant with tiny portions and exorbitant prices, I can't help wondering if he brought me here because he doesn't want to be seen with me in a classier place where someone might recognize him. Brody doesn't seem like the snooty sort who would be embarrassed to dine with a regular girl like me, but it doesn't add up that the same man who owns a sprawling waterside mansion and several expensive-looking cars eats here. I'm surprised he even knows where this place is. Although I try not to be hurt that he's obviously ashamed to be seen with me, I feel my cheeks and neck heat with the knowledge. My entire face is probably fire engine red. I don't have any delusions of grandeur. I know Brody is out of my league, way out of my league. But I'd hoped we might be able to at least be friends. He gallantly closes my car door, offers me his elbow and asks,
"Shall we?"
Unable to speak for fear that he'll hear the emotion in my voice, I simply nod as I accept his offered arm. Taking a deep breath as we walk toward the unassuming door, I decide to do my best to enjoy the evening. Brody may not want anyone else to know he's with me, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy his company. Besides, if Maddie were here, she would not stand for me being sulky. She would remind me that I am going to dinner with the hottest man I've ever met, so I should live in the moment and squeeze every drop of joy I can from it, even if it is short-lived. When we walk inside the small establishment, I'm immediately charmed. It's much more inviting from the inside. The cozy dining room is dotted with white twinkling lights. Each table has a red and white checkered tablecloth and a lit candle. The room is bustling with activity as patrons chat and eat, while workers efficiently do their jobs. I'm pleased to realize that the Hidden Gems ambiance indoors is through the roof. Just as I'm wondering if perhaps Brody does actually like to eat here, a loud voice yells,
Brody, my boy, is that you?
A stout, grandmotherly woman bustles over to get a closer look. She reaches a hand up to pat his cheek as she says,
It is you. How have you been? It's been too long, sweet boy.
Brody beams at her before bending down to kiss her cheek.
"I've missed you too, Mama Leone, but I was just here a few days ago."
Too long,
she says, pooching up her lips and practically daring him to object. Giving the woman a wide smile, he agrees.
"You're right. It's far too long."
Her gaze lands on me and her eyes brighten with obvious delight.
You brought a lady friend with you? Give me a minute, and I'll get you the best table in the house.
Without waiting for a response, she turns and hurries to a two-top table in the corner. She speaks in hushed tones to the couple lingering over their dessert. The man nods his head and they rise to leave. I can't help wondering if the charismatic small business owner kicked them out of their seats. It's obvious that she loves Brody, but I can't imagine her turning away one set of paying customers for another. In a flash, Mama Leone has the now vacant table cleaned and ushers us to sit. Once we're settled, she asks,
Do you need a menu, or do you trust me?
"I trust you implicitly, but Vella just met you."
Brody answers. Both sets of eyes look expectantly at me. I'd much rather select what I want from a menu, but I feel backed into a corner. Hoping I'm not getting in way over my head, I say with as much confidence as I can muster, I trust you.
Good girl,
Mama Leone tells me, her eyes shining bright with obvious approval. As soon as she hurries away, Brody says,
"You're in for a treat. Mama Leone makes the best food, and she makes sure no one ever leaves here hungry."
Trying to relax and enjoy myself, I answer, sounds great. A sommelier appears with a flourish. While he pours Brody a sample from an elegant bottle of white wine, the dapper man describes the vintage as being crisp and fruity, with hints of oak. After Brody does the sniff, swirl, sip ritual, he nods his approval. After pouring us each a generous glassful and leaving the bottle for us, the sommelier disappears as quickly as he arrived. Deciding to jump right in with the truth, I lean in to say, "This place is fantastic, but it's not the sort of restaurant I would expect someone like you to enjoy." Brody seems completely unoffended by my observation when he says,
"Oh, I absolutely love it here. It's one of the first places I came to after I moved to California. Mama Leone has been like a bonus mom to me ever since."
"That's wonderful," I answer, fully meaning it. The woman in question appears with her thick arms loaded with a wooden cutting board piled with a heaping mountain of warm and buttery garlic knots, a small cast iron pan of gooey mozzarella sticks, a basket boasting a wild tangle of fried calamari, and a trio of dipping sauces. "Oh my," I gasp as I dig into the delicious-smelling goodies. We eat in silence for a while, as I savor the marvelous flavor combinations. I catch myself moaning in delight a couple of times, before reminding myself to be quiet. When I catch Brody smiling at me as if I am the most amusing creature he has ever encountered, he says,
"I'd save some room if I were you. These are just the appetizers."
My mouth is wrapped around my third soft garlic knot, as my eyes widen at this news. After I swallow the overly large bite, I say, "What? I thought she decided to give us a sampling of starters as our meal." Brody chuckles at my naivete and shakes his head before answering.
I highly doubt it.
Sure enough, Mama Leone appears with 2 heaping plates of pasta carbonara, my absolute favorite. A waitress sweeps away our appetizer dishes and refills our wine glasses, as Mama Leone efficiently douses each deep dinner plate with a generous sprinkling of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Both women swish away, after working in tandem as a finely tuned machine. It's obvious by the generous serving size that I'm in way over my head, but I use the large spoon to twirl some pasta around my fork and take a big bite. As soon as I swallow, I look up toward the ceiling, allow my eyes to roll back in my head and say, "Oh my God."
It's good, huh?
Brody asks with an amused look lighting up his chiseled features. Unable to find words strong enough to convey my delight, I make a chef's kiss motion with my lips and fingers to indicate the creamy pasta dish's perfection. Brody nods his agreement before tucking into his own food. After a few bites, he asks me,
"So, what brought you to California?"
I pause eating just long enough to tell him about Maddie's death and my subsequent promise to myself to say yes to life and enjoy every moment. He listens intently and sounds like he truly cares when he says,
"I'm so sorry about your friend."
"Me too," I answer somberly, staring down at the table. The mood has turned dark. Knowing it to be true, I look up at Brody and add, "But Maddie wouldn't want me to be sad." He nods his understanding but remains quiet. Deciding a change of subject is called for, I ask him, "So, what do you do for a living? Print $100 bills in a secret lair at your house?" The outlandish question earns me a genuine laugh from Brody. I love the carefree sound of it. When his chuckles subside, he says,
"The really funny thing is that it's not that far from the truth."
All kinds of nefarious scenarios run through my mind as I bug my eyes out at him over this surprising response. I should have known that he was too good to be true. I just hope he's not a murderer for hire, human trafficker, or some other kind of terrible drain on society. Seeming to sense my sudden apprehension, he sets down his fork and holds up both palms in an innocent gesture.
"It's nothing too dreadful, I assure you."
When he doesn't immediately continue, I set down my own fork and wait as patiently as I can for him to expand. Taking the hint, he reveals,
"My friends call me the Crypto King, because I have made an absolute fortune with cryptocurrency trading."
"Like Bitcoin?" I ask, scrunching up my face in confusion.
Yes, Bitcoin is the original, Big Daddy digital currency that almost everyone has heard of, but there are actually thousands of crypto coins on the market.
He explains. I had no idea, I say, sounding as bewildered as I feel. He gives me a proud smile before saying,
"My goal as a teenager was to have my bank account balance look like a phone number, and I've exceeded that."
"Oh, I have too, but the number is 911, I joke. He chuckles lightly, then gives me a slightly concerned look, so I clarify, "I'm teasing. I've set aside a decent amount of savings from the boring day job that I recently quit, but it's nowhere near 7 figures. He simply nods, so I continue, "I've never met anyone who made their money with crypto. Isn't it super risky?"
"It can be,"
he answers before adding,
"but I've found ways to minimize my exposure."
I lean in, enthralled and feeling like I'm getting ready to receive some kind of big insider trading secrets. Brody beams that wide, bright smile at me before saying,
"It's not nearly as glamorous or exciting as you're probably imagining."
When I continue to stare, he adds,
"I have automated bots that make tiny micro trades, day in and day out. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week."
At my confused look, he clarifies.
"You've heard of buying low and selling high, right?"
I nod, so he continues.
"Well, my bots are set up to buy a little bit of specified coins when the price drops and to sell a little when it goes up. We're only talking about a few pennies of profit at a time, but those small amounts add up to big money if you do enough trades."
Genius, I say, unable to believe how easy he has made it sound.
I've oversimplified it a bit, but that's the basic gist of it. The constant TikTok price fluctuation of the market is how I jiggled my way to wealth. The more movement there is on the price of a particular crypto coin, the more money I make.
He reveals. I want to jiggle my way to wealth, I say, beyond excited by the prospect. His eyes are alight with excitement when he says,
"What a coincidence, because I've been thinking it would be fun to teach others how to do what I have done, and I need a guinea pig." Chapter 6. It's thrilling to see the excitement in Vella's eyes as I explain my plans to teach others how to build their wealth by taking advantage of the constant volatility of cryptocurrency. I've been searching for deeper meaning in my life, and I'm starting to think this may actually be the ticket to finding it. I can't simply be a wealthy beach bum for the rest of my days, I say to her in summation.
Well, you could, but you're choosing to do something more and help others. That's very admirable.
She weighs in. Her obvious approval makes me sit even taller in my seat. The way she's gazing at me causes a phenomenal chill to race along my spine. Wanting more of that approving look, I dive in with both feet and begin going over some of my ideas for the charitable foundation I want to establish. If I thought Vella was enthralled before, it is nothing compared to the obvious excitement now in her facial expression, posture, and tone. She proves herself to be incredibly well-spoken and bright. She immediately has some great ideas of creative ways my charitable foundation can help even more people. Smiling at her, I say, I've been feeling stalled on getting started with all of the ideas swirling around my head, but talking to you makes me want to begin immediately. I should hire you as a consultant before someone else scoops you up. She tucks her hair behind her ear and stares down at the table as she says,
I'm not exactly dressed for a job interview.
Nor would I expect you to go through one, I assure her, hating the edge of sadness that tinged her voice when she mentioned this evening being a job interview. Leaning in, I reveal, I'm much more of a trust-my-gut kind of guy than a formal interviewer. Smiling demurely, she nods her head.
I can see that about you.
I wonder if she sees me as being too casual. Many people find my relaxed lifestyle and laid-back attitude to be a bit too carefree. For some reason, I really want Vella to like me. I'm less concerned about hiring her, although she would likely make an excellent employee, than I am about getting to know and spend time with her on a personal level. Unfortunately, she's difficult to read. I'm not sure if she's spending time with me in hopes of starting a romance, scoring a financial benefit, or if she just agreed to come out with me to be friendly. Her motive could be any one of the three, and the not knowing is practically driving me crazy. Or, worst case scenario, she could just be hanging out with me because I asked her to, and she promised her dead friend that she would say yes to life. Hoping that's not the only reason she's here with me, I take a chance by reaching across the table to grasp her hand within mine. Her initial reaction is to flinch away, but I see in her expressive eyes the moment she rethinks that response and relaxes. She gives my hand a light squeeze with her thumb and smiles at me. The warm, open gestures make my heart soar. I'm not sure why her opinion and feelings matter so much to me after such a brief time knowing her, but her approval feels like everything to me. The intimate moment is interrupted when Mama Leonie appears with a dessert plate loaded with a generous portion of tiramisu and 2 forks. I reluctantly release Vella's soft hand. As soon as the waitress clears our dinner plates, Mama Leonie makes a production of presenting the rich dessert. Vella dramatically pats her stomach.
Oh, that looks delicious, but I can't possibly eat another bite. I am absolutely stuffed.
Nonsense. You try it.
Mama Leonie insists. I pick up one of the forks and take a large bite of the layered dessert. Both women's gazes land on me as they await my opinion. Since my mouth is full, I simply groan in delight and give an enthusiastic thumbs-up gesture.
Brody obviously loves it, so I'll let him have the dessert. I've already eaten way too much.
Vella tries.
I'll tell you when you have eaten too much.
Mama Leonie says firmly, as she picks up the other fork and hands it to Vella. Vella laughs at this before saying,
You sound just like my dad. He's an auctioneer who likes to tell bidders that he'll let them know when they bid too high.
Leaning in and holding a hand up to her mouth as if she's revealing a big secret, Vella adds,
Of course that never happens. He doesn't think any bid is too high.
Mama Leonie laughs enthusiastically before saying,
I think I would like your dad very much.
Vella nods and grins as she answers,
Everyone does.
Now eat.
Mama Leonie demands. With that firm command, she bustles away before Vella can put up any more of an objection. Vella shrugs her shoulders as if she knows she has lost this battle and digs into the dessert. As soon as the first bite hits her mouth, she closes her eyes as she makes a delighted
Yum
sound. I watch her mesmerized. The only thing better than eating the delicious dessert myself is watching Vella fully enjoy it. She makes eating seem like a sensual event. Redacted. When she finally regains her composure, she catches me staring. Her eyes are wide and innocent when she asks,
"What?"
"You truly have no idea how irresistible you are, do you?" I ask her in a husky tone. Her lashes flutter as she processes my bold compliment. Staring down at the table, she says in a quiet tone,
"I'm not the irresistible type. I never have been."
"What? Is that truly what you think?" I ask her, allowing my mouth to hang open to let her see how stunned I am by her inaccurate statements. When she looks up and sees my overexaggerated, shocked expression, her cheeks blush a pretty shade of pink when she says,
"You're making fun of me. I know I'm a plain Jane."
I can't believe this is how the gorgeous woman feels, but her words and reactions seem completely sincere. Hoping to set her straight, I grab her hand again before looking directly into her eyes and saying, "I wish you could see yourself the way I see you. Someone as lovely inside and out as you are could never be a plain Jane, Vella." She looks away and giggles. It's an adorable sound. I suddenly want to do anything in my power to hear more of her laughter, and I'm certain I will never tire of it. "Are you ready to get out of here?" I ask her.
"Oh, don't we need to wait for the bill? I'm happy to pay for my half,"
she says. I'm charmed by the generous offer. I can't remember the last time I was with a woman who didn't automatically assume I would pay, especially after seeing my home. "It's taken care of," I assure her as I stand and move around to pull her chair out.
Such a gentleman.
Mama Leone weighs in from behind us. Genuine approval is obvious in her tone, even though we didn't quite clean our dessert plate.
"Thank you for a splendid meal,"
Vella says to the older woman.
"Everything was truly wonderful."
Ignoring the compliments, Mama Leone reaches up to pat my cheek as she says to Vella,
You be good to my boy, or I'll find you.
"I will."
Vella promises her before swallowing audibly and giving me a concerned look over the vague threat. As soon as we walk outside the restaurant, Vella admits,
"I'm a little bit scared of her. She seems incredibly protective of you."
"Well then, I guess you should take very good care of me." I waggle my eyebrows suggestively to let her know I'm teasing. Vella tips her head back and emits a joyous laugh before she says,
"I'll do my best."
After I close her into my car, I find myself whistling as I walk around to the driver's side. I can't remember the last time I felt this hopeful and excited for a budding relationship. I just hope Vella feels it too.
Chapter 7. Brody is an absolute enigma. Just when I thought I had him pegged as a wealthy beach bum, he surprises me by showing how much he cares about others with his planned wealth-building training courses and generous charity foundation. It's no wonder Mama Leone is so protective of him. He's truly one of a kind. As we drive back to Brody's house from the restaurant, I stare out the car's window at the glimpses of the beach we are offered between buildings. He briefly takes his gaze off the road to turn toward me and say,
"If you think the ocean is beautiful here, you should go to Hawaii. It's absolutely amazing."
"It sounds magical, but I can't go there," I murmur, staring down at my lap.
"If it's a matter of money, I could pay for your trip. The waves are incredible, and the islands are a natural oasis that everyone should see at least once in their lifetime,"
he says. I'm surprised that he would make this generous offer after knowing me for such a short time. Shaking my head even though his gaze is back on the road, I say quietly, "It's not the expense that keeps me from going." He doesn't probe, even though I know he must be curious why I wouldn't jump at the chance to visit paradise. I don't want to admit my embarrassing issues to him, yet I feel like I should explain. After taking a deep breath for courage, I dive in and allow my admission to come out in a rush. Hawaii isn't an option for me because I am terrified of flying and I get horribly seasick. So unless they build a bridge or tunnel that will allow us to drive a car to get from here to there, it isn't happening for me.
"Oh, okay,"
he responds with finality. I like it that he doesn't question my quirks or try to convince me that my fear of being so high in the air is irrational. Most people start spewing statistics about how much safer flying is than driving as soon as they find out about my phobia. Brody keeps one hand on the steering wheel and reaches over with the other to clasp mine, and we settle into comfortable silence. I've never felt so fully accepted or at ease with a man this quickly, especially not with someone so attractive and successful. It doesn't make any sense for him to like me, but he seems to, so I'm not going to question it too much. I certainly don't want to point out any more of my many flaws to him, in case he's truly not noticing them on his own. I'm sure he'll discover them soon enough, but I might as well enjoy my time with him while it lasts. After parking in his garage, he opens my car door, takes my hand, and leads me inside his home, as if it's the most natural thing in the world for me to be here with him. When he offers me a beverage, I pat my stomach and say, I can't possibly eat or drink anything else. I may never eat again, until tomorrow anyway. He chuckles at my silly joke, but then silence looms and awkwardness threatens to take over. After he walks over to open the large sliding glass doors, we both step outside and inhale deeply. I could get used to living by the ocean, breathing the fresh, salty air, gazing at the moon shimmering on the water, and listening to the sounds of the surf crashing. It's almost like the stars shine brighter here, I murmur in a dreamy voice.
Living by the coast is definitely addictive.
He agrees. It's quiet for a long moment as we both relish the still warm sea breeze. Suddenly remembering the cat, I call out, Lucy? Here kitty, kitty.
Oh, he's out prowling around for the night. He won't show up again until it's time for breakfast.
Brody informs me. I try not to let my disappointment over this news show. The cuddly cat would provide a good distraction. Deciding it's best not to overstay my welcome, I say, well, I guess I'd better get going. At the same time, Brody asks,
Ready to head back inside?
We both chuckle at the awkward tension, before Brody makes a sweeping motion with his hand to usher me into his lavish home. I walk over to retrieve my bag, making a mental note to grab my skivvies from his outdoor shower before leaving. Although I could swear that I see disappointment register on Brody's chiseled features at the sight of me with my bag, he quickly masks it before asking me,
Do you know how to get to your hotel?
Oh, I figured I'd just find a fun-looking place to stay, I answer. His eyebrows shoot up almost to his thick hairline.
You don't have a reservation anywhere? It's a weekend night. The chances of you finding a place to stay within an hour's drive of here are slim to none.
He tells me matter-of-factly. Just as I'm wondering if he might offer to let me stay here with him, he suggests,
Why don't you look for a place to make a reservation on my computer? The screen will be much easier to see than doing a search on your phone.
Oh, okay. Thanks, I answer as he leads me to his impressive computer. After one glance at his massive monitor, I say, Yep, I should be able to see that with no problem. He grins as he sits down in the black leather desk chair.
Let me get logged on and minimize all of my work stuff so it isn't in your way.
I stand directly behind him and gasp when I see the high-tech charts and financial wizardry lighting up his screen, presumably making him even more money with each movement. Are those your cryptocurrency investment bots? He seems just as excited to show me what they are doing as I am to hear about it. I would love to have the knowledge and skills to set up automated bots that spit out cash for me all day, every day. I could do so much good for the world with that kind of renewable money tree. After a quick tutorial that leaves me even more in awe of what he has managed to do financially, Brody suddenly remembers why we signed on to his computer.
Sorry? I could ramble on about crypto all day, but you need to find a hotel.
Before I can object that I love hearing about his unique trading skills, he opens a new browser window for me and stands up. I sit down in his recently vacated chair. The leather is warm. Just knowing I'm sitting in the spot he heated makes a scintillating chill race along my spine.
I'm going upstairs to change. Make yourself at home. I'll be back down in a few minutes.
He calls over his shoulder, already heading up the carpeted steps. It's tempting to follow him up to his bedroom, but I'm not sure if it would be a welcome gesture. Instead, I type into the browser search bar and begin looking for a decent and affordable nearby hotel with availability for tonight. After clicking on link after link, it becomes clear that Brody wasn't kidding about a lack of available hotel options for tonight. A part of me had secretly hoped that it had just been his way of hinting that I should stay here, but there truly aren't any rooms open. I give up searching after I spread the radius to within 50 miles of here, and still can't find anything with a room for rent. Letting out an exasperated sigh, I scoot the rolling chair back, stand up, and whirl around. The sudden fast movement sets me off kilter. Luckily, Brody is coming back downstairs. He proves that he has quick, cat-like reflexes by lunging forward to catch me.
Whoa, are you okay?
He asks with true concern evident in his tone. My elbow is pleasantly warm where he is touching me. I assure him that I just stood up too fast, but his brow is still furrowed with worry as he gives me an assessing gaze. I glance down at what he's wearing. His chest and firm abs are bare, and his low-slung gray sweatpants reveal a delectable-looking indentation starting near his trim hips and leading downward. His chest has an intriguing beauty mark that I would love to redacted. Instead, I lick my suddenly parched lips as I try not to stare. I fail miserably with that mission, because my eyes steadfastly refuse to look away from the gorgeous man. Ignoring my obvious gawking, Brody releases his hold on my arm and asks,
"Did you find a place to stay?"
It crosses my mind that I could lie, since I don't want him to worry about me. Instead, I go with the truth. Not yet, but I'm sure I'll find something soon enough if I head away from the coastline.
"You just got here. Why would you want to leave already?"
He asks, sounding truly perplexed. It's not that I want to go, but you were right. There isn't anything available in my price range nearby. Shrugging my shoulders, I add, I can always head back this direction in the morning and explore the area more thoroughly after a good night's sleep.
That seems like a big waste of time and gas.
Brody weighs in. Smiling, I say, well, I'm not big on sleeping in my car, so. When I allow the end of the sentence to dangle, Brody finishes for me.
So you'll stay here with me?
I'm already shaking my head. Despite how much I'd love to stay here tonight and likely beyond, I just met this man. At his expectant look, I explain, I'm not a one-night stand kind of girl.
Who said anything about a one-night stand?
He asks in a husky voice. I'm not sure if he means that he wasn't offering to sleep with me, or if he is implying that our fling would last for more than one night. I desperately want to believe it's the latter, but I can't be sure. I must look as bewildered as I feel, because he clarifies.
I have several guest rooms upstairs. You can take your pick.
Oh, okay, I respond, but the way my voice rises at the end almost makes the statement sound like a question. Misreading my reluctance, Brody says,
You can lock your bedroom door, so you don't have to worry about me trying to sneak in during the night.
I wasn't worried about that, I answer honestly. From his confused expression, it's obvious that he doesn't know for sure if I mean that I know he would never do that, or that I wouldn't mind if he did sneak in. I open my mouth to explain, but then comply with the sudden urge to leave him wondering. Giving him a flirty grin, I grab my bag, saunter past him, and purposely swing my hips, allowing the hem of my dress to sway, as I climb the steps to find a bedroom to stay in for the night.
Chapter 8. It's impossible to sleep knowing that irresistible woman is just down the hallway, in one of my guest rooms. Releasing a frustrated sigh, I realize that she's probably dozing peacefully, since all of my home's bedrooms boast the best, most luxurious mattresses and high thread count bedding that money can buy. I had wanted my guests' quarters to be as comfortable as possible, even though I rarely have overnight visitors, other than the women who stay in my room with me. My mom is the only person from back home who regularly travels to California to see me, but if my entire family or formerly tight-knit group of high school football friends decide to visit someday, I'm prepared. After tossing and turning for several hours, I finally get up and stalk across my bedroom toward the door. I wonder what Vella's reaction would be if I just barged into her room and kissed her. I'm desperate to find out, but I don't want to cross any lines. Vella placed her faith in me by staying here, and I won't betray that trust, even though my body is practically demanding it. Instead, I tiptoe past her closed bedroom door and down the stairs. Hopefully, a warm mug of chamomile tea with milk will calm me down enough to allow sleep to find me. In the kitchen, I start to flip on the overhead crystal chandelier, but freeze when I feel the breeze coming inside from the living room's open sliding glass doors. My first instinct is a rush of concern that I may have left the door unlocked, allowing an intruder easy access to my luxurious home, until I see her. Vella's long hair is blowing back in the cool breeze coming in from the inky water. She's as lovely as a siren sea goddess. I remain frozen there, staring at her and unable to move for a long moment. Deciding she must be chilly, since she's only wearing an oversized t-shirt, I grab a folded blanket from one of my leather sofas before walking up behind her. "You look chilly," I say in a soothing voice, being careful not to startle her, as I wrap the soft blanket around her shoulders. She gives me an appreciative look, before saying,
I hope I didn't wake you by opening these doors. I just couldn't resist the call of the ocean.
"I know that feeling," I respond. Hoping to reassure her and remove the delicate worry line from between her eyebrows, I add, "You didn't disturb me at all. I couldn't sleep."
Me neither.
She admits quietly. I'm desperate to know if thoughts of me kept her awake, but she doesn't expand any further. Instead, she holds an arm open with the blanket and says,
Are you cold? You can join me in here.
"Talk about an offer I can't refuse." I smile as I snuggle under the blanket with her. More warmth radiates between us than the thin blanket should provide. Our body heat is electrified as we stand close together and listen to the waves rolling in to shore.
The ocean is so vast that it makes me feel tiny, yet standing alongside it with you gives me the distinct impression that we're the only two people in the entire world,
Vella says in a faraway voice. Her succinct explanation perfectly mirrors my random thoughts in this wonderful moment. I nod my head and let out a relaxed him. She surprises me then by turning to face me and saying,
I know this sounds crazy, but I think I was meant to come here and find you.
I stare down at her. It does sound crazy, delightfully so, and I ache to believe it's true. My voice is deep with desire when I say, maybe you were. That is all of the encouragement it takes for Vella to tip up on her toes and press her lips to mine. It's obvious by the tentative nature of her kiss that this isn't a typical move for her. Desire spears through me as her tongue flicks out and seeks entry to my mouth. I allow the blanket to fall to the deck's thick wooden planks, as I lift my palms to gently cradle her cheeks and open my lips. We redacted as the marvelous kiss deepens. By the time she pulls back, we are redacted. We gaze deeply into each other's eyes for a long moment. This time when our mouths crash back together, redacted. We stand there, as close to each other as possible, and making out like redacted. Redacted. I chuckle at the accuracy of that statement, before turning serious. Are you sure this is what you want? I certainly don't want to talk her out of being intimate with me, but I can sense that moving this fast is out of character for her. If she needs to wait longer, I'll find a way to comply. She thinks over her answer for an agonizing length of time, before answering.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is exactly what I want. My first urge was to put a stop to things before we go too far. It probably sounds completely insane, but it's almost like I can feel my friend Maddie urging me to say yes to life by being with you.
I grin down at the adorable woman. Well, I didn't have the pleasure of knowing Maddie, but I'm quite certain that I would have really liked her.
I'm sure you would have loved her. Everyone did. She was so vivacious that she energized those around her. I guess she still does,
Vella says with a hint of sadness in her tone. Deciding to lift the mood, I look up toward the sky and say, I wish I'd gotten to meet you, Maddie, but even though I didn't, I want to thank you for sending Vella to me. The adoring way Vella is gazing up at me is completely addictive. I grin down at her as my body thrums with excitement, anticipation, and pure happiness. Vella's eyes darken with desire just before she says,
I want to be with you, but I do have one request.
Anything. I breathe out the word, fully meaning it.
Can we stay out here so we can hear the ocean?
Since her request aligns so well with my desires, I respond enthusiastically, yes. With that settled, we both lunge for each other and bridge the tiny gap between us.
Chapter 9. When Brody runs inside to get protection, my nerves kick into overdrive. What had I been thinking when I suggested doing this outside? It's way too soon to be intimate with him at all, let alone outside. I barely even know him. What if someone sees or hears us? The worries swirl around my brain, tempting me to run away and never look back. But something stops me. This time, I don't think my intuitive nudge to be brave has anything to do with Maddie. Instead, it's all about my intense feelings for Brody. I may not know the man well, but I know enough to realize that he's smart, generous, caring, thoughtful, handsome, and funny. And that body. The man is irresistible, so why should I try to fight my desire for him? I'm a grown woman, and I have every right to enjoy myself in any way I see fit. For once in my life, I long to be brave and trust my gut. My intuition is telling me that Brody is worth risking my heart for, so I decide to listen. When he returns to the outdoor deck, I'm unable to keep from voicing my biggest fear. What if your neighbors see or hear us?
Several of the neighboring houses are vacant vacation homes, but everyone is asleep in the ones that are occupied,
He assures me as he sets the foil packet on the wide ledge of the deck's railing. I look from side to side. Sure enough, the nearby houses are completely dark and silent.
Besides, if we lie down on one of these lounge chairs, the sidewalls will block us from view.
He reassures me. But what if someone walks along the beach? I ask, splaying my hand toward the thick glass partition that gives us an unobscured view of the beach and does nothing to hide us from being seen.
There's no one out there.
Brody says. His expression turns solemn when he adds,
But if you're having second thoughts, we don't have to do this.
No. I say a bit too vehemently. Softening my tone, I add, I want to be with you. I'm just nervous.
I want to be with you too. So much.
He breathes out the words before lowering his lips to mine. His passionate kiss bolsters my confidence. Suddenly, all that matters is being with Brody. When his hands redacted. Pulling back slightly, he says,
All I could think about at dinner, redacted. You're going to be the death of me, woman.
I chuckle, loving how desirable he makes me feel. The charged air between us practically crackles with anticipation as we grin at each other. Reaching out my hand, I lightly trail my fingers along his wide shoulder, then down his chest. He seems perfectly content to let me take my time exploring him. Redacted. Whispering, I say, This beauty mark on your chest is divine. He scoffs as if I have said something offensive.
Males don't have beauty marks. We have manly moles.
I chuckle, then lean forward to press my lips to the area in question. My hands find their way around him to slide up and down the sides of his spine as I whisper, Whatever it is, it's irresistible.
You're the irresistible one.
He murmurs as he redacted. His movements are whisper soft as he redacted. I let out a shaky breath as his scintillating touch brings delectable heat to my redacted. When his hands make their way even higher, my first instinct is to clamp down on the shirt, but I remind myself to be brave. Instead, I redacted. Redacted. He drinks in the sight of me in the shimmering moonlight for a long, luxurious moment before weighing in with his assessment.
So hot.
The reverent way he breathes out the words gives me more of a confidence boost than any flowery compliment could have provided. He tips down to press light kisses along my shoulder and collarbone. My eyes fall shut as I lean my head to the side, giving him full access. Moving achingly slowly, as if he has all the time in the world, Brody redacted.
Did I hurt you?
He asks, looking up at me with concern visible in his gaze. No, I want more. I want all of you, I breathe out the words. That is all of the encouragement Brody needs. He arranges the dropped blanket as a cushion on the deck's floorboards and redacted. I'm lost in sensation as he redacted. Redacted. The sweet sensations linger and tingle, like shooting stars inside me. I stare up at the twinkling night sky in awe of how good my entire body feels. When I finally float lazily back down to earth, I grin at Brody and say in a firm tone, It's time for you to redacted.
Yes, ma'am.
He readily agrees with a wide smile. Redacted. Giving him a light shove on his firm chest, I say, Sit down. He doesn't hesitate for a moment, before sitting down on the end of the closest heavy lounge chair. Redacted. He gazes up at me, as if I am the answer to all of his dreams as I redacted. I like it that he doesn't rush me, even though I'm sure he's redacted. Redacted. He wraps his arms around me, embracing me tightly, redacted. I've never felt so safe or adored. I don't want this cherished feeling to ever end. When he begins pressing soft, tender kisses along my neck, I redacted. Redacted. The world is hazy and my breath has been completely stolen away. I'm lost in the redacted, and I don't ever want to find my way out. We hold each other tight for several long moments. I've never felt. My breathy words falter as I seek a way to sufficiently describe the roiling emotions inside me. Brody saves me from having to continue by gazing deeply into my eyes, caressing the side of my face, and saying sincerely,
I haven't either. Chapter 10. To say Vella rocked my world would be the understatement of the year. That woman absolutely blew my mind tonight. I've never experienced anything even remotely like it, and I can't wait to be intimate with her again. Hopefully tomorrow morning, or possibly even later tonight if I can't wait throughout the night. She's curled up in my bed with me now, where she belongs. It feels right having her here by my side, even though she is hogging the bed and sprawled out like she owns the place. With any other woman, I would be working on an exit strategy and coming up with a reason why she needs to leave as soon as she wakes up. But with Vella, I'm trying to devise a plan to make her stay, indefinitely. Although I know the thought of any kind of permanent situation should scare me, with Vella, it doesn't. This is what I want. She is what I want. I can't imagine not being with her for the foreseeable future, nor do I want to. Suddenly, I understand why my high school football quarterback and close friend, Lane, was willing to give up his firm bachelor ways for a ready-made family. When you meet the right woman, something just clicks into place. I decide to have a relationship talk with Vella first thing tomorrow morning, or perhaps second thing, since I probably won't be able to wait through a chat to redacted. With that settled in my mind, I tighten my arms around her and let my eyelids drift closed. I awaken with a start and immediately miss Vella's warmth. Although I can still smell her soft floral scent, her pillow is cold. She's evidently been up for a while. Sunlight is streaming in through my bedroom's large windows, making it obvious that I slept much later than I intended. Apparently, phenomenal redacted makes a man sleep like the dead. After standing and stretching, I smile to myself as I walk to my bathroom. Perhaps Vella will decide to join me under the steamy spray of my immense walk-in shower. That would certainly make an already fantastic day even more fabulous. I let the water jets beat down on my skin for a couple of extra minutes, but Vella doesn't join me. Despite my disappointment, I find myself whistling as I towel off. Nothing can mar this fabulous day. There are so many things I want to show Vella, I don't even know where to begin. Seeing the pier, aquarium, and fish market through her eyes will be like visiting the landmarks for the first time all over again. I can't wait to share my world with her. I jog downstairs with a definite pep in my step. Perhaps if Vella hasn't already eaten, I can impress her with a delicious breakfast of baked crispy bacon, scrambled eggs with melted cheddar cheese, and buttery toast. We'll need our energy for all of the adventures I want to share with her today, including another rambunctious redacted. I'd been expecting to find Vella sipping a steaming mug of coffee, or tea, on my deck overlooking the ocean. I guess I should refer to it as our deck now, since I'll never be able to even look at it again without thinking of my absolutely world-rocking first time with Vella. Hopefully, it was the first of many, many times we'll be together. There isn't any sign of her on the deck, so I scan up and down the shoreline, but don't see her there either. Walking back into the empty kitchen, I search for a note from her, but come up empty. Frowning, I head to the back of the house and call her name. Silence greets me. I look out the laundry room window, which has a partially obscured view of the parking lot where Vella left her car, and am surprised to see that her car is no longer there. It seems strange that she would leave without giving me any indication where she was going or when she would be back, but I decide not to worry about it. I'm sure she'll return soon and have a perfectly logical explanation. I head back to the kitchen and make myself a strong cup of black coffee. My stomach grumbles, but I decide to wait to make breakfast until Vella gets back so that it will be hot and fresh for her. After I carry the steaming mug to my work desk, I set it on a coaster. Deciding I might as well get the few minutes of work I do each day out of the way while Vella is gone, I type in my login credentials. The quick check-ins on my balances and minor tweaks I make to my bots don't usually require my full attention. My massively successful crypto business practically runs on autopilot. But today's numbers after the monitor screen paints catch my attention. Actually, there are no numbers, only zeros. I stare at the screen in stunned disbelief as I search through all of my accounts. It's as if my eyes are playing tricks on me. Certain that this must be some sort of API or internet error, I log out, shut down the browser, open a new window, and log in again. With each tab I open, I'm once more faced with giant goose egg balances across the board. I shake my head, unable to believe it. This must be some sort of horrific nightmare that I'll wake up from at any moment. My heart hammers in my chest as I struggle to breathe. Panic causes bile to rise in my throat, but I force it back down. As a last-ditch effort, I restart the computer. When it finally hums back to life, my fingers fly across the keyboard as I use my credentials to log back into my crypto exchanges. Unfortunately, nothing has changed on my account screens. My money is all gone. Many millions of dollars have disappeared overnight, and there is only one person who had the access to take it: Vella. Chapter 11. I am completely shocked that Vella robbed me. If I hadn't been faced with the indisputable evidence of her treachery, I never would have believed that it could possibly be true. The really bad part is that I had totally been falling head over heels for her. I would have happily given her anything she asked for. Yet she saw fit to take it all without asking. I had absolute blind faith in her. In fact, I logged onto my work computer with her standing right behind me. I practically showed her how to steal my money. I can't believe I was so gullible. Perhaps I deserved to be swindled for being so trusting with someone I had just met. I'm furious with myself for being so naive. But even now, facing all of these zeros in my account balances, I can't quite bring myself to believe it's true. How could she do this? She knew all of the big plans I had to help others with this money. Vella truly didn't seem like the type to care about being rich. I've always believed myself to be an impeccable judge of character, but I couldn't have been more wrong about her. She's probably long gone by now, jet-setting away to enjoy the luxurious lifestyle of a mega-millionaire. It's highly unlikely that I'll ever see her again, but a significant part of my heart still craves her. If nothing else, I at least want to see her one more time to ask her why she would do this to me. Was everything we experienced in each other's arms last night fake? I can't bring myself to believe it's true, even though the obvious signs are staring me right in the face. Devastated and frustrated, I decide to go surfing to clear my head. I might as well enjoy being this close to the beach while it lasts because I'm about to lose everything, including this oceanfront mansion. I'm going to have to rebuild my business from scratch, and it's impossible to know how long that will take. It will likely be several years before I earn anywhere near the level of wealth I had yesterday, if I'm able to get there at all. Vella's skimpy panties and lacy bra are flapping in the breeze where she hung them to dry under my house yesterday. It's as if her skivvies are taunting me, reminding me of her betrayal. I staunchly ignore them as I grab my surfboard and stalk out toward the water. Red warning flags are posted, but I don't care. I need the ocean right now. I paddle out and wait for the perfect swell. The sea doesn't keep me waiting too long. I catch the rising water and pop up onto my board. With my knees bent and arms out, I sail across the barreling wave. Riding the large, powerful wave makes me feel alive. Nothing in the world compares to it, except being in Vella's arms. Reminding myself what she did, I harden my features. Crouching, I shift my weight to carve through the water. After expertly turning the board, I sail down the line of the big swell. A movement on the beach catches my attention. Certain that I'm seeing a mirage or that my eyes are playing some other trick on me, I blink and stare at the figure coming toward me on the sand. If I didn't know any better, I would swear it was Vella. My lack of focus on what I'm doing causes me to wipe out, hard. The powerful ocean draws me under and swirls me around like a rag doll. I lose my bearings and am left uncertain which way is up. It's not the first time I've felt like a sock in a spinning washing machine, so I do my best to relax. There is no point in fighting the churning water, because that is a battle that even the strongest swimmers in the world can't win. Once I'm out of the worst of the turmoil, I'll right myself and swim like crazy for the surface. Eventually, the strong wave releases its hold on me. I look for the light and kick my feet in that direction. As soon as I surface, I gasp for air. Other than the sick taste from the gulp of salt water I managed to swallow, I don't feel any worse after the ordeal. In fact, I may paddle back out and go one more time. Apparently, I'm a glutton for punishment today. After grabbing a hold of the surfboard tethered to my ankle, intending to go catch another wave, I hear her frantic call.
Brody? Are you okay?
The woman is a good distance away. Evidently, the wave spit me out much further down the shore than where I started. I blink blankly at Vella as she awkwardly runs and swims through the water toward me. She's fully dressed and drenched.
I was so scared when you didn't come right back up,
She says with wide eyes after she approaches. I give her a hard glare before asking, "Why are you here? Did you come back to gloat?"
What? I don't know what you mean.
She answers, sounding utterly bewildered and fully believable. The woman deserves an Academy Award for her stellar acting skills. I mean that I'm surprised you came back after you robbed me blind and left me penniless, I yell into the whipping wind, furious with her and hating myself for still wanting to believe in her.
Robbed you?
She repeats, sounding perplexed. Deciding I need to get far away from her before I start to fall for more of her lies, I head toward the shore. From the corner of my vision, I see a big wave nearly knock Vella over. My first instinct is to rush to help her, but I force myself to refrain by reminding myself that she's probably just here to steal what's left of my dignity. The pink pastry box that has been dropped in the sand catches my gaze, but I don't stop to investigate. After I make it back up to my house, I'm unable to keep myself from turning back and checking if Vella is okay. Despite what she has done to me, I don't want her to be injured or in any danger. Since she is safely on the shore, I dry off and head inside. I would be perfectly within my rights to keep her stuff, considering all that she has taken from me, but I want to make a point, so I jog up the stairs to retrieve her bag. She has picked up the cardboard box and is slowly making her way up toward my house. She looks like a drowned rat, but somehow she's still beautiful. I make a big production of dropping her bag from the second-story deck onto the beach below. Then I whirl around, slam the door behind me, lock it, and use the remote control to lower the blinds. It should feel good to have this level of closure with the wily thief. Unfortunately for me, it feels absolutely dreadful.
Chapter 12. I have no idea what Brody is so angry about. I didn't steal anything from him, nor would I. Is this just his way of making a clean break with me? It sure seems dramatic. I am mature enough to handle a straight-spoken brush-off. Lucy meows at me, so I stoop down to greet him. The cat purrs and rubs up against me. What is your dad's problem? I ask the animal, as if he can help me. The cat's pupils are huge as he stares up at me, like he's trying to send me the answers through brainwaves. I scratch his ears and say, I know he's not technically your dad, but he should be. You take good care of him, okay? I have to go. Since Brody made it perfectly clear that I'm not welcome here, I stand up to retrieve my hanging undies. After I toss them inside the bag Brody dropped to the ground level, I zip it closed and sling it over my shoulder. I consider leaving the pink pastry box for Brody, but I'm hungry, and he seems too angry with me to eat anything I've bought. That being the case, I take it with me to my car. Once inside my vehicle, I open the box and stuff a cinnamon sugar cronut into my mouth. The flaky pastry is a mixture between a croissant and donut, and it is every bit as delicious as I expected it to be. I want to share my delight over the treat with Brody, but he has made it clear that he wants nothing further to do with me. Instead, I say to the empty car around a mouthful, "This is so wonderful." Despite the magnificent flavors assaulting my taste buds, tears begin streaming down my cheeks as I stuff more of the treat into my mouth. I had truly believed Brody and I shared something special together, but the way he acted back there with those false accusations makes it obvious that he wants me to go away and leave him alone. Leaving is the last thing I want to do, but I don't see any alternative. I won't beg him to forgive me for something I didn't do. Using my sleeve, I swipe the tears from my cheeks and start my car. It's time for me to put some distance between myself and the man of my dreams, who wants nothing more to do with me. Perhaps someday, I'll be able to look back on the blissful time I spent with Brody as a wonderful memory to cherish. But right now, all I feel is heartbreak as I wheel out of the public parking lot and drive away from the beach. I know I should explore the area while I'm here, but I'm not in the mood for anything fun right now. Instead, I stop at a motel near the highway and rent a room. The front desk clerk gives me a strange look as she hands me the key, likely since it's so early to be checking in, but I don't care. For the next 3 days, I cry and sleep. I only emerge from the room to secure junk food and soft drinks from the vending machines. By the end of my sob fest, I am resigned to the fact that Brody simply didn't have the same feelings for me as I did for him. It's too bad that he decided to end things in such an over-the-top fashion, but it's better to know now that he doesn't want me than to fall for him even more before finding out. When I check out of the motel room that has been my sanctuary for the past 3 days, I consider exploring the California coastline, since I'm already here. Instead, I turn my car east. It doesn't feel right to be in this place without Brody by my side. I was excited to see all that the naturally beautiful area has to offer with Brody as my tour guide, but without him, it simply seems empty. The further I drive away from this place and Brody, the worse I feel. Something is telling me to stay. He doesn't want me, Maddie. He made that perfectly clear, I say to my empty car. The niggling doubt in my gut doesn't subside at all. It only seems to grow stronger as I drive further away. My cell phone is plugged into the car charger, since I had allowed it to die while I wallowed. Suddenly it springs to life and begins dinging with incoming messages. I pull over at the nearest fast food restaurant, trying unsuccessfully to keep the hope at bay that there might be a message from Brody. It's all I can do not to slump over the steering wheel when I realize that there can't possibly be a message from Brody, since we never exchanged phone numbers. That knowledge steals away what little hope I had managed to muster that he might be trying to reach me. I scroll quickly through my texts. Mom reached out a couple of times to remind me to check in, so I shoot off a quick message to let her know I'm okay and that I'll call her later. My credit card company sent a message with a link to pay my latest bill, so I schedule that payment. There are a few spam texts indicating that I've won money or that my account is in danger of being permanently closed. I block those contacts before deleting their messages. The final text message sent within the last hour catches my attention. It's from Maddie's sister, Sadie. She and I don't have much in common, other than how much we both miss Maddie. Her message reads, "I know we haven't talked much lately, but maybe we can catch up sometime? I feel like you're one of the only people who understands the all-consuming grief of no longer having Maddie here to cheer us on. Getting on an airplane. We'll call you later. P.S. Some guy named Brody called me trying to track you down. Wasn't sure if I should give him your number, so I said I'd relay the message to you." I blink and stare blankly at the postscript, almost unable to believe my eyes. Brody is trying to find me? And he went to all of the trouble of finding my dead best friend's sister? It's impossible to keep the surge of hope at bay, even though it's likely that he's looking for me so he can press charges against me for the money he thinks I stole. Deciding that I need to find out what he wants, even if it's something bad, I toss my phone back onto the seat and practically squeal the tires in my rush to get back to the road. Turning in the direction I just came from, I set off to face my destiny. Chapter 13. The luxury real estate company's for sale sign posted at Brody's beachside home startles me. Logically, I'd known that his financial loss meant that he would lose everything, but this visible reminder makes my breath catch in my throat. Even though he angrily accused me of being the thief, I can't bring myself to wish him any ill will. The mere idea of him losing the waterfront house that he obviously loves so much is devastating. He doesn't deserve this. I knock on the front door and ring the doorbell several times, but silence greets me. Undeterred, I walk around to the public beach access path and trudge through the sand to the back of his house. The real estate company has another sign posted back here. I walk up the stairs to his back deck and knock on the sliding glass door. The blinds are closed so I can't see in, but I don't hear any sounds from inside the house. Lucy appears and purrs loudly as he twirls between my legs. Tipping down, I pick up the cat and rub his soft ears as I say, "Hey sweet kitty. I missed you." The cat gazes up at me and purrs as if he is trying to convey the message that he missed me too. Soon enough, the animal tires of being held and squirms for release. I gently set him down and he skitters off, chasing after something. I scan the water line, but don't see any surfers in the water. Since it is clear that Brody isn't here, I return to my car. Drumming on the steering wheel with my fingers, I try to decide if I should wait here for his return. Suddenly it hits me. I know exactly where Brody is. He's having a tough time, so he probably sought out the comfort of his bonus mom. After I park on the street near Mama Leone's restaurant, my nerves kick into high gear. I'm half afraid of the spirited restaurant owner, and I'm terrified that Brody truly believes me to be a thief. Despite my thrumming anxiety, I need to see this through. Lifting my chin, I emerge from my car. As soon as I walk into the restaurant, Mama Leonie's voice greets me, but it isn't the friendly welcome I experienced when I came here with Brody. Instead, the single word,
"You,"
sounds mildly threatening. Refusing to be intimidated, I quickly scan the restaurant's tables but see no sign of Brody. Trying my best to control the squeakiness in my tone, but failing miserably, I say, "Hello, Mama Leonie. I'm looking for Brody. Have you seen him?"
"Of course,"
she answers, then stubbornly pooches out her lips as if she refuses to tell me any more than that. "Do you know where I can find him?" I ask her.
"Yes,"
she answers, openly glaring at me. "Will you tell me where I can find him?" I'm losing patience with the stubborn woman, who obviously believes that I've done something wrong. She shakes her head and points toward the door I entered through. I'm certain that she's getting ready to kick me out of her restaurant when a beaded curtain sweeps open, revealing Brody. He's surprisingly pale and has dark circles under his eyes, as if he hasn't slept since I last saw him, but the sight of him still takes my breath away.
It's okay, Mama. I want to talk to her,
he says in a soft voice.
"Ugh."
The woman blusters. She's obviously not in agreement with that plan, but she doesn't stop us when Brody leads me over to a quiet table in the corner. After we sit down, it's all I can do not to reach out for Brody's hands. Despite how much I long to comfort the obviously suffering man, I sense that it wouldn't be a welcome gesture. His shoulders are slumped forward, and he's staring down at the table. The person in front of me is an empty, broken shell of the vibrant, confident man I met just a few days ago. The theft has obviously taken a huge toll on him, and I hate it that he believes I had any part in it. "Brody, I'm terribly sorry that you're going through this, but I want you to know that I had nothing to do with it. It's terrible timing that it happened right after we met, and you allowed me to stay in your home. But I didn't steal from you, nor would I." I hope the sincerity rings through in my voice, since his gaze hasn't lifted from the red checkered tablecloth. He is silent for so long that I begin to wonder if he heard me. It's obvious that he's not in his right state of mind. Perhaps it would be better if I arranged to meet him at another time to discuss this. Planning to do just that, I turn to retrieve my purse from the back of my chair. I scrawl down my cell phone number on a piece of paper. After sliding it across the table in his direction, I say, "Reach out to me when you're ready to talk." I move to stand, but his quiet request makes me freeze.
Wait.
After hanging my purse back up, I fold my hands on the table and wait for him to continue. The silence is interminable. Just when I'm beginning to think I may have imagined his soft-spoken word, he says in a slow, hushed tone as if he is calculating each word,
I know in my soul that you didn't do this to me.
My heart soars at this news. Brody believing in my innocence is better than anything I had dared to hope for. His gaze raises to mine, and there is a bit of the fire that had previously been missing visible in his gorgeous eyes.
I have no idea who could have cleaned out my accounts, but I'm sure it wasn't you. Besides, if you had taken all of my money, you would be long gone, living the high life, not here trying to talk me down from the ledge.
I hate it that he is so depressed. Hoping to help, I suggest, perhaps we should call the police. They might be able to help you track down the thief. Brody shakes his head.
Cryptocurrency is still relatively unregulated. Whoever did this had to have been smart enough to get my secret keys and recovery phrases. They could be hiding anywhere in the world with the money secured in cold wallet storage and offshore accounts.
I mull over this news. Although I understand what each of his words mean individually, I'm a little lost by the entire premise. If he knew how little I understand of this world, he would realize how preposterous it was to have ever believed me of being capable of being the thief.
I'm sorry I accused you. The timing was just so convenient, and I logged onto my computer with you right there behind me. I've never trusted anyone like that,
he says. It's okay. You had every right to be suspicious. Although I wish he'd talked to me about it first, he'd obviously been panicked over losing so much money. I can't hold that against him. Picking up on his last statement, I say, "You've never logged on in front of anyone else?" When he shakes his head, I start making suggestions, hoping to jog his memory. An out-of-town guest staying with you? A housekeeper? Another woman? Lucy? The last suggestion earns me a half-hearted smile and chuckle. His expression quickly falls again when he shakes his head and whispers,
No one. I'm usually super careful, except with you, apparently.
I almost wish he hadn't trusted me so much, since it made me the target of his suspicions. Needing to help him figure this out, I ask, where do you keep your passwords, keys, and phrases? Are they in a place that anyone else ever has access to?
No, they are locked up tight in my fireproof safe. I know better than to leave that type of information lying around because crypto is so easy to steal.
And no one else knows how to open that safe? I ask.
No one.
He confirms. It dawns on me then that Brody must have started out with much less money. He likely didn't have a fancy fireproof safe when he first opened his accounts. Where did you keep that information before you had your safe?
I use the personal notes feature to store them on LifeChat.
The color drains from his face as he says the last two words, and realization dawns that he may have made himself vulnerable to the widespread data leak on the social media site that hackers have been taking advantage of for the past several months. His brows furrow together before he says,
But I deleted all of that as soon as I got the safe. The notes were blank when the data breach happened.
Nothing is ever truly deleted off the internet for someone who knows what he's doing, I say in as gentle a tone as possible. When he gives me a perplexed look, I explain how I know this. At the software company where I used to work, an intern accidentally deleted half the code for one of our flagship products. Everyone went into panic mode. Even the most senior software engineers in the company couldn't figure out how to get it back. They were on the verge of doing a massive rework of the entire program when one of the company's vice presidents asked his teenage son, who was a renowned hacker, to take a look. That kid retrieved the entire codebase within hours and saved the company millions. Brody stares at me with wide eyes. Finally, he says in a devastated tone,
So I brought this on myself. Chapter 14. Vella is being kind to me, but I'm sure she thinks I'm an idiot for practically giving hackers the passwords and key codes to steal all of my money. How could she not think I'm a moron? I do. Mama Leone brings a basket of marvelous-smelling cheesy garlic bread to the table, along with small plates and 2 tall glasses of fresh brewed iced tea. The overprotective woman is angry with Vella, even though I tried to convince her not to be, but her annoyance doesn't keep her from being a remarkable restaurant owner. I'm too devastated by my own stupidity to summon more than a half smile for the thoughtful woman's kind gesture. Vella gives her a heartfelt,
Thank you,
for the goodies, but Mama Leone purses her lips and hurries away without saying a word. I'll talk to my protective mama bear later and convince her not to be angry with Vella, but right now, I need to wallow for a minute. Vella dives enthusiastically into a steaming slice of the cheese toast. Despite the delicious smell, I have no appetite. After her first few bites, Vella says,
After only eating vending machine cookies and chips for the past few days, this is absolute heaven.
I grin over her enthusiasm, until I realize exactly what she has said. Wait, why have you not been eating real food? Vella looks ashamed as she stares down at the table and quietly admits,
I was too upset to do much of anything but pout in a hotel room.
Guilt swarms my system as I shake my head and mutter, I did this. It was insane of me to ever accuse you. I'm so sorry, Vella.
It's okay,
She assures me, forgiving me too easily. It's not, I say vehemently. I should have known you would never steal from me. She gives me a soft smile.
We had just met, and the timing was very convenient.
I can't believe she's letting me off the hook. I deserve her anger over the way I treated her. Her eyes brighten when she asks,
Now that we've figured out what most likely happened to your money, do you think we can track down who took it?
I shake my head, not overly surprised that this is where her mind is gone. They are probably long gone by now. I'll reach out to the authorities, but I have very little hope of ever seeing a dime of that money again. The look of disappointment in her expression is undeniable, so I say, perhaps if you come back to California in a few years, I'll have rebuilt some of my wealth, and we can give this thing between us another try. Her expression is full of confusion when she asks,
Why do we have to wait a few years? Are you not ready for a relationship now?
I can't make the money magically reappear. It's going to take some time, I remind her.
So,
She asks, looking even more perplexed. I try to keep the frustration out of my tone when I explain, so I'm broke, Vella. Completely, utterly broke. I'm not the same man you met and spent an amazing night with. I can't even afford the property taxes on my beachside home. I have nothing, and what little I do have is going to be sold so I can invest and try to regain some of the vast fortune I've lost.
you think I care about your money?
She spits out the last word as if it hurts her mouth to say it. No, I know you're not greedy or a gold digger, but you have to admit that a surfing beach bum with huge piles of cash, fancy cars, and a beachfront mansion is a lot more attractive than a broke one. I give her a knowing smile.
As long as you're that surfing beach bum, I don't care if you're penniless.
She tells me, sounding as if she truly means it. I gaze at her with new eyes, almost unable to believe my ears as she continues.
I have some savings built up from my previous job. We can get an apartment close to the water. We'll likely have to walk a few blocks to the beach, but it will tide us over until your investments can begin to pay off.
There's no guarantee that I'll ever get back to anywhere near the level of wealth I had before, I warn her, almost daring to believe this is real. She shrugs her shoulders as if that doesn't concern her at all.
I can find a job, and you can get an income stream by starting your training classes to help others build their crypto wealth right alongside you.
The crypto market is incredibly volatile and unpredictable. It may take a long time, I remind her.
Are we in a hurry?
She asks. Suddenly her expression crumples and she says,
Unless you don't want to be with me.
Rather than answering her, I stand and lean over the table. Our lips hover close together as I say, I want nothing more than to be with you. With that, I bridge the distance between us and claim her lips in a passionate kiss. I'm not normally one for public displays of affection, but this marvelous moment calls for it. When I finally force myself to pull back and sit down in my seat, I realize Mama Leonie is hovering near our table with a delighted expression on her face. The woman rushes forward and pats Vella on the cheek.
You make my boy happy. He's smiling again. I make you my secret recipe, lasagna.
Without giving Vella a chance to respond, Mama hurries toward the kitchen. Leaning in, I say to Vella, you're in for a treat. Her lasagna is amazing.
Can't wait.
She says. After a moment of thought, she adds,
Apparently, if you're happy, she's happy. And when she's happy, she feeds me mouth-wateringly delicious food.
Looks like it, I grin at the adorable woman.
Well, I think I'd better figure out a way to make you very happy then.
She flirts with me. Going all in with the truth, I wink at her before saying, You already do, my love.
And if I want to keep you extremely happy?
She asks demurely. Just stay by my side forever, I answer in a husky tone. She beams a wide, happy smile at me, before answering,
Deal. Epilogue. The entire one-bedroom apartment Brody and I share could fit inside the open-concept living room of the beachside mansion he lived in when we met. But that doesn't stop us from being deliriously happy here. It's a longer walk to the beach, and it has a view of the park rather than the ocean, but we are together. That is all that truly matters to either of us. All of the money in the world wouldn't make me happy without Brody, and he seems to feel exactly the same way about me. He has adjusted remarkably well to no longer being a multi-millionaire, but my guess is that it won't be long until he builds his wealth back up to where it was, or beyond. The man is a cryptocurrency investing genius. There is already a waiting list a mile long of students clamoring to get into the beta version of his training course, which he's currently developing. Being robbed of a small fortune isn't going to keep that amazing man down for long. He's unstoppable. Lucy meows and draws my attention before hopping up into my lap. Brody had put up a fake fuss about me bringing the cat with us to our new place, but I know he's secretly happy about it. In fact, when I suggested he ask our landlord for permission to install a cat door so Lucy can come and go as he pleases, Brody had said,
Absolutely not.
But within days the cat door was in place, and Brody was using cat treats to coax Lucy through it for the first time. The man and cat are big fans of each other, but neither will admit it. When they think I'm not looking, Brody rubs the cat's ears, which makes Lucy blink slowly as if he's the luckiest, happiest animal in the world. Do you know what I love about California? I ask the man of my dreams as the cat curls up in my lap and promptly falls asleep.
The ocean. The weather? Me.
Brody guesses. Well, yes, there's all of that, but right now I'm focused on how much I love boba tea, I tell him, lifting up my clear plastic cup so he can see it. Unable to contain my enthusiasm, I point out the popping bubbles at the bottom. These little buggers are so delicious, and they come in all kinds of refreshing flavors, like peach and mango. He chuckles at me, before saying,
Yes, I'm familiar with boba.
It makes me feel like a true Californian to drink it, I say, before taking a big sip from my oversized straw and popping the juice bubble with my teeth.
I'm pretty sure they have boba tea all over. My mom has even tried it,
he says. Ignoring that, I murmur, it's like a flavor explosion in my mouth. He grins over at me.
I love how enthusiastic you are about simple things that so many of us take for granted.
I'm easy to please, I say, shrugging my shoulders.
How easy?
He asks, waggling his eyebrows suggestively. I chuckle, but my phone begins blaring before I have a chance to come up with a flirty response. When I glance at my screen, I'm thrilled to see the name of Maddie's sister, Sadie. She and I have been learning to lean on each other more lately as we process our grief. Brody actually helped bring the two of us together by calling her when he was trying to track me down. Ever since she contacted me to let me know he was looking for me, she and I have kept in touch with each other. Hi, Sadie. I'm so glad to hear from you, I say sincerely into the phone speaker. I listen intently as the woman speaks. My eyes widen and I say, oh my, or wow a few times but remain silent other than those interjections. Brody gives me a concerned look, so I shake my head to let him know not to worry. After Sadie finishes her lengthy monologue and pauses to take a breath, I say, you're right. Colt's not going to like it, but it's obviously what Maddie wanted, so he's just going to have to deal with it. It will all work out okay, but I'm here if you need anything, I assure her before signing off the call.
Everything okay?
Brody asks me. Maddie left her half of Marigold Meadow, the horse ranch in Colorado, to Sadie in her will. Maddie's husband Colt owns the other half, and he isn't going to like sharing it with Sadie. He's a macho cowboy type of person, I explain.
Sounds like Marigold Meadow may soon be hosting a hootenanny showdown, because Sadie doesn't seem like the type to back down easily from a challenge.
Brody weighs in. Hootenanny. I splutter, shocked that he would use that word. Shaking my head, I ask, where did I get you?
You picked me up at the beach.
He whispers, leaning in for a sweet kiss. When we finally pull apart, I grin up at him and say, speaking of that, I haven't been to the beach all day today, and I need my daily dose of vitamin C. Shall we go for a walk?
Sounds good.
Brody answers, even though he already went to the beach to surf this morning. His eyes take on a teasing gleam before he hints.
Besides, the surprise I have for you tonight isn't quite ready.
Surprise. I squeal, not bothering to hide my excitement. I love surprises. My loud words startle the snoozing cat, so he skitters off my lap.
I know.
Brody chuckles as he helps me stand, and we head to the apartment's door. As we walk down the sidewalk toward the beach, Brody slings a comfortable arm around me. Please give me a hint, I beg.
Nope, you have to wait.
He teases me. Once we reach the sand, I take off my shoes and wade out into the chilly water. As usual, I'm unable to keep from playing in the waves. Brody warns me.
You might not want to get too wet, or you'll need another shower before I take you to your surprise.
Would another shower be that bad? I ask him, raising a single brow to remind him how I joined him during his shower this morning. The memory brings a wide grin to his face just before he says,
You're right. That wouldn't be bad at all.
With impeccable timing, a massive wave comes and knocks me off balance. I land on my rear end in the sand, fully clothed and soaked. Brody makes sure I'm okay before chuckling. When he offers his hand to help pull me up, I give it a yank and he lands in the salty water right beside me. We laugh and kiss until Brody says,
We should head back to the apartment and get ready.
As we walk back inside our place, I say, we'd probably save water and time if we showered together.
I don't know about the saving time part, but count me in.
Brody says, before taking off at a run for the bathroom. Redacted. I'm relaxed and happy as we climb into my old car. Brody drives us to Mama Leonie's restaurant. Deciding to tease him a little, I say, "You thought you'd surprise me by bringing me to the restaurant where we eat at least 3 times a week?"
Yep.
He says, but his eyes have a mischievous glint. Instead of going in through the door we normally do, Brody leads me around to the side of the restaurant. I gasp when I see the establishment's new screened-in outdoor patio. White twinkle lights sparkle from every corner of the space, and larger canned lights drape overhead. Glowing tiki torches outline the massive buffet table that is piled high with a feast of traditional luau foods. 3 lovely dark-haired women shake their hips in grass skirts as a band, including a ukulele and a steel drum, plays an upbeat island song. Brody leans near my ear and whispers,
You mentioned that you've always wanted to go to Hawaii. Since you don't fly and you get seasick, I thought we should bring Hawaii to you.
"It's wonderful," I say, fully meaning it. Mama Leonie appears and hands us each a tropical drink in a hulled-out pineapple. I take a sip and allow my eyes to roll skyward before saying, "Yum?"
You like?
Mama asks me, even though it's obvious that I do. "This is all fabulous," I assure her, using my free hand to encompass the entire outdoor area. She grins and lightly pats Brody's cheek as she says,
It's all thanks to my sweet boy.
I'm shocked by this revelation, but Mama hurries away before I can respond. As soon as Brody and I sit at a table, I ask him, "You did all of this?" The look of pride in his eyes is undeniable as he says,
I decided to do some good with my money as I earn it this time, instead of waiting until I'm filthy rich before helping anyone else. Do you approve?
I nod as I say, wholeheartedly, "This is absolutely wonderful. It gives Mama so much extra space. Plus, she'll be able to host private parties out here."
Yes, like engagement parties.
Brody's eyes are twinkling with excitement. My fingers go numb as I stare at him. I want so much to believe he means what I think he does, but I'm afraid of getting my hopes up too high and being crushed. Trying but failing to keep my tone nonchalant, I ask, "Engagement parties?" Quick as a wink, Brody is on one knee beside my chair.
Vella, you've stuck with me through thick and thin, even when I lost everything. I love our life together, and I love you. I don't want to imagine living one day without you. Will you make me the luckiest man in the world by agreeing to marry me?
Happy tears blur my vision as I nod my head.
Is that a yes?
Brody asks me with an intense gaze. Yes. I agree as he flips open a velvet ring box. A beautiful white pearl is surrounded by small diamonds on a thin silver band.
We can get a more traditional diamond if you want, but I thought something from the sea would represent our relationship better.
Brody explains. It's perfect, I tell him, fully meaning it. As soon as he slides the gorgeous ring on my finger, we lunge at each other and seal our engagement with a deep, life-affirming kiss. When we finally force ourselves to break apart, Brody yells,
She said yes?
People emerge from the shadows, clapping and cheering for us. The gathered group includes my parents, Brody's mom, and even Sadie. Since it doesn't feel right to not include Maddie in this momentous occasion, I send a quick text to her cell phone number that simply reads, "I'm engaged." After that, I catch Sadie alone for a moment. "Hey, I just talked to you on the phone a little while ago. Were you already here in California?"
I was.
She reveals.
It was so hard to keep it a secret, but we wanted you to be surprised.
Mission accomplished, I chuckle. Turning serious, I ask her, "So, did you make up that whole messy story about Colt and the ranch to throw me off about this party?"
Unfortunately not. That's very real, so I'm heading to Colorado first thing in the morning.
She tells me. I put an arm around her shoulders before assuring her, I'm sure Maddie had a plan. It will all work out just fine.
Yeah, right?
Sadie says sarcastically, before reminding me,
But tonight is all about you. Get out there and dance with your fiancé.
My fiancé, I repeat the words with a wide smile, almost unable to believe my good fortune. The man in question sidles up behind me.
You want me?
Always, I murmur. Sadie makes an exaggerated gagging motion with her finger and open mouth, before giving me a big grin and disappearing into the crowd. Out of the corner of my eye, I glimpse a hummingbird darting past our celebration. Even though I didn't need any more signs that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, Gratitude and a sense of peace wash over me at the personalized confirmation from above. Brody pulls me into his arms where I belong, and we spend the rest of the evening dancing, laughing, and enjoying this brand new beginning to the rest of our lives. When Maddie's will reveals that her half of Marigold Meadow Ranch has been left to her sister Sadie, rather than her husband Colt, sparks are sure to fly. How will this work out? Find out in Colorado Cowboy.